Hello, Collateral Gaming listeners. Chazzle Dazzle here from the Trial by Error Variety Show podcast. I just wanted to take a few seconds to invite you guys over to what we do. No, it's not video games, but we do invite really awesome and unique bands from all over the world. We dig deep into their souls and find really cool stories to tell you, and there's tons of music every week, so subscribe to us wherever you subscribe to your podcast. We look forward to having you.
I'm Ashley Chancellor.
I'm Dakota Chancellor.
This is Collateral Gaming. Welcome to Collateral Gaming, the only video game podcast that matters, where we focus on good games, bad games, and everything else in between in the world of gaming. And this is part 2 of our season finale on Assassin's Creed 4 Black Flag. If you're listening to this now and you haven't heard part 1, please go and check out the first half of this podcast episode. Because we're just going to delve right into where we were at before, picking up on the story of this game. So you can probably check that out wherever you're listening to this episode. We are on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Play, YouTube, the works. And if you enjoy this podcast, please let us know. Leave us a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts and share this with your friends. And give us some feedback on our social media channels as well. You can find us on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, the works. But without further ado, let's go ahead and get back into Assassin's Creed. Now, as for the modern day segment, this kind of standalone story is that there were samples that were taken from Subject 16, Desmond, which is allowing Abstergo to now explore genetic memories through a cloud computing. So other people can explore someone else's genetic memories now instead of having to force Desmond to stay in the Animus. You're playing just some nobody. You're playing you exploring Desmond's ancestor, Edward. So again, this actually does continue the original line, and I think continues through until Syndicate, if I'm not mistaken. I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure Unity is. But yeah, that's kind of the main synopsis. I mean, what did you think about the story?
I honestly really enjoyed it. It kind of took me for a ride because when I first started playing the game, I didn't pay too much heed to the story. If that makes any sense. I didn't pay enough attention to it. But as I went through, it took up till honestly Blackbeard's death to really get me, because at that point I was like, holy shit, like shit's going down, you know?
Yeah.
Because they kind of kill him first. He's the first big one to go.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, he is the first one. And there's just kind of this continuing story, and the main quest is fun. I mean, it's easy to move along and continue from thing to thing to thing, but I think what really shines the most in this game is a lot of the side quest content.
Oh yeah, for sure. There is a lot of side quest content.
Yeah, but the story is really fun. Like I said, it does kind of focus more on the pirate aspect, but it's good for the series to kind of take a step back and embrace kind of a more simplistic and lighthearted story. At the same time, exposing the time period and having all of the Assassin's Creed staples that we're used to. So, and what did you think about the graphics and I guess just the overall presentation or execution?
It was very vibrant, as you said before. I noticed it being very it was bright, it was pretty, it was good to look at. You know, it was interesting to watch. It wasn't, I guess, say their best. I think actually, to be honest with you, with 2 and 3, they had almost better graphics, I want to say. But this one, because I don't know, the angles were a little bit different. Have you noticed in like 2 and 3 where it's the graphics and the edges seem a little more sharp? You know what I mean?
I don't know. 2 and Brotherhood and Revelations, replaying them now, even remastered versions, they are quite a bit choppier than I remember them being. Although they were a stark contrast from the first game. This game, actually, I think the graphics are great. I mean, I kind of enjoy the Like it's, again, the vibrant colors and the motion in the game is nice feeling. It looks very smooth. Some of the textures are a little off. We do have a little bit of that. Like if you look at distant islands, that are or not even distant, like islands in places that you don't actually climb and interact with, they're kind of funky looking. You can tell that they're flat. And also the Switch version looks good as well. But I was playing in handheld mode, and I remember watching Dakota's Wii U version on the screen, and I thought it actually looked better on the TV than it did on my Switch. But I think that's because I was on the handheld.
Right. I don't know. See, I thought that there was. I'm doing wrong. I thought the graphics were fantastic. If I were to compare them to like 3, I think 3 was better, to be honest with you.
3 is actually pretty close, although 3 had a lot. The colors were so much duller. I think this game.
That is true. This one is more vibrant, like you said.
Yeah, it's a more interesting world, and I love the way that the sea looks, and the map is huge.
Massive.
I mean, again, like I said, it's one of the bigger Assassin's Creed maps, even to this day. It's actually considered pretty big compared to some of the other ones, and it's honestly the most historically accurate, or like real, not historically, but geographically accurate, I should say. To actually the way that the Caribbean looks. I mean, they got the basic outline of all the islands right. There's some weird stuff, like Port-au-Prince shows up in Freedom Cry, which for the longest time I didn't realize Freedom Cry is just a section of the Black Flag map. I didn't realize it, for a minute there that it was part of the same map, but it is. It's just a smaller zoomed in section of it. But there's a whole last city that's in Freedom Cry that is empty in Assassin's Creed 1. They didn't even use the same game world. It looks like they rebuilt the game world because the islands again match the general shape that they do, but in the same way that the shape in game kind of differs a little bit from real life. The Freedom Cry map is a little bit different. Like I said, the most jarring change was that whole last city that's just not there. It's just Cliff in Assassin's Creed and Black Flag, the main game, but. As far as the execution goes, the game, like a lot of Assassin's Creed games tend to be, is a little glitchy. Not as bad as some of the others, but there are a few bugs in there still, even in patched versions or in the remastered version or on the Switch. Well, I don't know if it's a remastered actually. I think it's just a port. I think enhanced maybe. But either way, I mean, there are a couple segments where you may need to like reload your game or whatever to bypass, but not too often. Assassin's Creed does have a bad habit of releasing their games within pretty short times of one another. I mean, they were almost doing yearly releases for a while. They were doing yearly releases at one point.
Yeah, a lot of people complained about Unity, right?
Unity was the one that was really pushed, but there are a few bugs in Black Flag, not nearly as many as Unity, and the gameplay I think really shines through in this one. Actually, it got generally favorable reviews. It's among the better reviewed and higher ranked in the series among a lot of critics. I mean, in particular, people praised it for its open world, for the side quests, for the graphics, and for the naval gameplay.
Yeah, the naval gameplay really did it for most people. I think for me, anyway.
Yeah, and it was an example of Ubisoft responding to criticism of Assassin's Creed 3 and applying it. So we got a superior product to the predecessor. IGN has ranked it as the second best in the series behind the Assassin's Creed 2. And Game Informer ranked it as the 5th best to date at the time. There actually were some benchmarks that were set for open world gameplay as a whole at this point, with a lot of people saying that the side quests were actually superior to the main story. And then, of course, the seamless exploration between land and sea was also a praised aspect of the game. And that's the one thing that I liked that stood out to me immediately. Well, definitely, we actually also have more flexible stealth than in previous entries. You definitely have a lot more freedom.
Yeah, like with going, back and forth from land to sea. I mean, that's the biggest thing. The sea travel is there's so much of that going on, and it's so important to the game. It's like you need that freedom just to be able to, collect collectibles and materials and stuff.
Yeah, but even in the main quests, within specific missions with specific objectives, there's a lot more freedom as opposed to previous entries and how you decide to go about that.
Yeah, that's true.
You can decide to go, a more stealth route, which is generally pushed, generally encouraged in the series. or you can go for all-out combat, because technically for most of the game, Edward isn't an assassin. He's just got the tools, and somehow is trained pretty well. I guess pirate training was pretty similar to assassin's training. I don't know.
I guess his pirate training was pretty great. He knows how to climb, but part of it is because of his, I guess Kid explains it because he's born with the sight,
Yeah, with the eagle vision, which means that he actually has his DNA is I think closer to First Civilization DNA.
Interesting.
Yeah. There is a lot more freedom when it comes to both stealth and combat. There is a little bit of criticism for the game being frustrating and having clunkier, unrefined controls. I mean, on occasion we did experience, the game trying to climb somewhere where we didn't want it to go.
We didn't want to climb, right. And of course, you counter killing and it not comboing or not doing the right button that you press. That happens a lot.
Yeah. So sometimes it is a little bit funky, but as a whole, for the most part, I mean, if you have to, you can restart from checkpoint and get through the game. I actually enjoy doing a lot of the, like in every Assassin's Creed game, I enjoy the optional objectives. And unlike Assassin's Creed 3, which had a different number per mission, this game has 2 optional objectives every mission, so it's very standardized. And they're usually things that are maybe a way that you would want to go, that makes the experience cooler, like air assassinate your target, or, kill these 2 targets together, stay undetected.
Right, those are required for 100%ing, each memory in the game.
Right. Like previous games, I mean, that precedent was set in Brotherhood with the optional objectives.
Right. And also, I don't know, was it Brotherhood that also started the memories, each chapter being called memories?
I think every game's done that.
Really?
Yeah. Yeah, it's always been memories and sequences. That's actually been one of the staples throughout, up until, I think, Origins. There was actually a lot of criticism for the combat for being repetitive and easy, and I do have to say the combat is stupidly easy. I mean, I could see how someone could see it as repetitive, but I had a lot of fun with it.
Yeah, honestly, I had a lot of fun just going around, just killing all the guards, like in a whole town, just to kill every single one of them, and then leave and come back, and they're all just mysteriously back, like nothing happened.
And no notoriety in this game for killing guards.
0 notoriety.
And like you were saying earlier, or you were starting to say, the notoriety in game for the ships is not even that big of a deal, because any hunter ships that come at you, you can just plunder for better resources, and so whenever you've upgraded your jackdaw, I mean, the game kind of pushes resetting your notoriety. They give you a lot of opportunities to do it.
Right.
So I kept doing it, but I realized that I wasn't getting a lot of resources for ship upgrades. And the way you do that is be a pirate.
Yeah, I just found it being pointless to not even to not even clear my notoriety, because killing those ships was so easy. I would literally take no damage by fighting them.
Yeah. And it'll allow you to use the hunter ships for Kenway's fleet.
Yep, or you can repair your ship if you do happen to take whatever little bit of damage they do to you.
That was kind of a weird thing. You could be in the middle of a combat with a fort and a bunch of ships all at the same time, but okay, you board a ship and you go ahead and just repair your ship right there. Okay, you're good to go.
You're good to go. You healed 1 health bar. Yeah, but I mean, it was a little weird, but they had to kind of make it a little bit. They had to have you be able to heal your ship. I don't think that was an option that they could do.
And as far as gameplay goes, it's balanced. You can repair your ship by boarding another ship, and you can only repair it by 1 bar, or you can go to an island and dock and
maybe they should have just kept it so that you can only repair your ship at the places where you can buy your upgrades on the island. What are those called? The ship upgrade places.
Yeah. Yeah,
but they should have kept it just there. Maybe, I don't know. Maybe they shouldn't have allowed you to do it in the middle of a battle.
Well, I don't know. You can upgrade your ship in your ship. You can just be on the sea and upgrade your ship.
That's really crazy. And so there's a lot of things that they did like that to just make, and I guess, it easier and quicker to do things like that. The captain's quarters.
Well, you're in the Animus, so it really didn't happen that way, right?
It really didn't happen that way, so it doesn't really matter.
But yeah, we had a lot of fun, I think, with the ship upgrades. And the combat, as stupidly easy as it was fun. The AI is kind of unintelligent, but it just kind of makes you feel more powerful. I think that's kind of the point.
Oh, yeah.
There was an overall positive response to the story, with really the only criticism aimed at kind of a lack of purpose, a compelling villain, and underdeveloped supporting characters. But I don't know, I kind of disagree with that. I thought a lot of the supporting characters were very well developed.
Yeah. I mean, I guess all but the Roberts character.
I mean, Ben Hornigold and Calico Jack and Charles Vane are all people that, kind of betray you at some point in the game, and so it's interesting seeing them go for being your friends to the villains, but Edward expressing regret nonetheless at seeing them, in their position, seeing Jack dead. I love that moment in the game where he's like, "You were." I mean, it's sad that, I mean, even though you betrayed me, I'm still gonna miss you because you made me laugh.
Yeah. Well, it's terrible because
You
you're
made
like,
me laugh, and that's enough for me to regret things ended the way they did. That's what he said.
right. It's crazy because it happens so suddenly. You've been kidnapped. Well, you were put into prison for like a year, and it's that you're a year like in this cage, and you get let out by Altahai.
I don't know if Atabai does it or just one of the
I
assassins.
think it was Altahai.
I don't want to sound racist, but I can't really tell the difference.
Anyway, no, but I'm pretty sure it's Altahai. But he comes and he saves you, and you get out and you can go around the island and you can see other people that were there, and he's been rotting away in the cage. He's just dead, just a skeleton.
Yeah, and
it's
Vane
like,
is going crazy in the cell.
Yeah, exactly. And
Yeah.
Vane is going crazy in the cell, right? Oh, it's just crazy to see.
Yeah, there's a lot of awesome moments in the story, and I think the general consensus, was that the story was really good and was really fun and was really enjoyable, and you could tell. Like I said before, I think focusing on the pirate aspect, the lighthearted tone did favors for Assassin's Creed. The games are known for having really convoluted storylines, and in the modern day, there's still some of that. But this is a pirate story. It's a tale of redemption and greed and personal loss and and humbling yourself, and it's enjoyable. And there's plenty of debauchery and plundering and pirating to go around.
That's really just the most enjoyable part I found about this game. Really, it's just the plundering, destroying other ships. It's like, oh God, sea battle is so much fun.
Yeah, and Kenway, even being the destructive person he is a sympathetic character, a likable character. He's kind of the stunning Chris Hemsworth-like blonde hair, Welsh accent. I know Chris Hemsworth has an Australian accent, but that was kind of an unrelated point. He has an accent, okay? And just kind of this likable guy who, even though he is kind of a dickhead, you sympathize with him and you like him.
I bet you Chris Hemsworth could do a Welsh accent.
I bet you he could do a good Kenway. I like how he wears eyeliner like pirates always do.
All right, lads. I'll give you Blackbeard's honest opinion. You ask me, can this new captain promise you a life of prizes, plunder, and adventure? Aye.
For amongst all the gentlemen of fortune sailing these West Indies, he ranks amongst the most clever. There was a time when I thought myself the deadliest scourge of these seas. But this man is a fearsome dog that feeds off trouble and turmoil. I seen him clear the deck of a Spanish galleon like it were nothing. Fighting like a devil, dressed as a man. And he's a canny one. Knows his way round every crag and crevice of these islands. So if his fortune and adventure you seek, then Captain Edward Kenway's your man. Only, don't meddle in his private affairs. For there's more mystery to that man than even I dare ask.
Assassin's Creed 4, Black Flag.
Black Flag did sell over 15 million copies worldwide. It won several awards, including Spike and Gamma Revolution's Best Action Adventure Game of 2013, GameSpot's PS4 and Xbox One Game of the Year. It won awards from Hardcore Gamer, Giant Bomb, the National Academy of Video Game Trade for Character and Costume Design. IGN awarded Black Flag for the multiplayer game of the year, best action adventure game, best story, best sound. We've got awards from Xbox, our official Xbox magazine, the Golden Joystick Awards for best visual design. Ubisoft Montreal won Studio of the Year, and the best audio, obviously, for the sea shanties.
Of course, you can't forget that.
and nominated for many more. One thing that was actually kind of interesting was, of course, PETA got involved.
They get involved in everything.
For the
They do not need to
depiction
be.
and glorification of whaling. Of course, Ubisoft went ahead and responded to it. They entertained them with a response that the game is based on history, and it is a work of fiction which depicts real events during the golden era of pirates, that they do not condone the practice. It's just there. It's being realistic. That's what they did. It's not saying that it's good. It's not saying that there's no glorifying it there.
It's not glorifying killing people either.
Right, exactly. So PETA just always likes to raise controversy. They're just always clamoring for attention. And despite the jokes that we make with Bo, I mean, I respect veganism. We respect vegetarianism. Just PETA just takes it so far with everything. Fuck PETA.
We respect nothing. Don't let them fool you.
Yeah, Bo, if you're listening to this, fuck your veganism. No, just kidding. Love you, buddy. All right, so we've also got DLC, as mentioned before, the Freedom Cry DLC. I got to try it out for the first time on the Switch. It's set 20 years after, and it features Adewale as the hero, the protagonist. He's been operating under the Assassins, although he temporarily joins the Maroon cause, and you get to free slaves and shit, and let me tell you, nothing's more satisfying than freeing slaves. A lot of the same naval combat and its own upgradable Experto Creed ship. Experto Creed, something like that. And weapons like the machete and the blunderbuss. A lot more than it's different. It's very, very similar to Black Flag, but it's got its own distinction. And, you know, if it had been expanded on, it could have honestly been its own game.
That would have been interesting.
Yeah. There was a free Aveline DLC that was exclusive to the PlayStation versions. It was on the Switch version. I played it as well. It's like three chapters. It's really not much of anything at all, but it's kind of cool. You play as Aveline. And then obviously it was succeeded by the next-gen game Assassin's Creed Unity, which takes place in France during the French Revolution, and Assassin's Creed Rogue, which I guess I kind of want to talk about a little bit, because Rogue is a very, very, very similar to Black Flag. I mean, hell, the UI is the same, the control system is the same, the naval combat's the same, but you play as a Templar, an assassin turned Templar, and his ship is actually more technologically advanced. In a lot of ways, it's a little more polished and refined. But Assassin's Creed did have the better world, I think, and the better story and the better atmosphere.
Black Flag?
Yeah, for sure. I did like the graphics in Rogue. I did like playing as a Templar and using the different Templar gadgets. And again, it is very similar. If you like Black Flag, you'll probably like Rogue too. Because it's oftentimes criticized for being too much like, but Black Flag was a step in the right direction, and every other game after that went in a completely different direction for no reason. Even though Black Flag in and of itself, it's kind of like Assassin's Creed keeps on trying to reinvent itself. Sometimes it's successful. Black Flag, yes. Unity, no. Origins, yes. Yeah, after that, it kind of completely went in a different direction. So, and it's almost like Rogue is too similar. But I don't have any big issue with it. It was developed very quickly. It was released simultaneously with the next gen release since Unity wasn't being made available for last gen because they didn't want to hold it back. They just decided to use a separate team and develop a game, and they just reused assets from Black Flag. So when you have that context, it's not that big of a deal. And both games are packaged together on the Switch version, which is one of the ports of the game, Assassin's Creed The Rebel Collection. That's what I was playing. Overall, I love Assassin's Creed 4 Black Flag. It's memorable for me. It's memorable for both of us. I think it's very representative of some of the best aspects of Assassin's Creed.
Particularly the audio.
Yeah.
The soundtrack was just so amazing. It sets itself apart from all the other ones.
Daddy. that soundtrack just makes me want to nut. It's great.
Lever, Johnny, lever.
Lever, Johnny, lever. What will we do with a drunken sailor? Bangers,
Oh, Billy
man.
Riley.
main theme, all of the themes. We could sit and listen to it and be like, oh yeah, that was this theme for this. It is just a banger. You can get all that on Apple Music. It's probably Spotify and everywhere else too, but I know I've listened to it on Apple Music. Here's a question, okay? Out of the Assassin's Creed games that you've played, where would you rank this one?
Honestly, this is probably my favorite one. I'm excited. I haven't actually played Odyssey or Origins, and I know I'll be excited to play Valhalla. So,
Yeah.
I'm keeping my hopes up. But right now, this is number one on the spot. So
Yeah, I figured as much. For me, maybe it's hard to say. Part of me just wants to say number 2 because Assassin's Creed 2 is so good. Brotherhood, it really expands on that in a lot of ways as well. It's just such a tight, perfect story. But Assassin's Creed 4 does so many other things right too. It's hard to say. And then I like the direction that they went with Origins and Odyssey. I think they really reinvented the franchise, but kind of fell away from a lot of the stealth aspects. This game actually maintains a lot of that still. It's just that you have a little bit more freedom, and you don't necessarily have to be restricted to stealth, which kind of seems like since then the series has in a lot of ways tried to move away from that and allow more open combat, which is kind of weird because one of the original tenets of the Creed is that they act in secrecy. But but anyway, that's just kind of the point. I have seen that with a more recent game, stealth was kind of relegated to more of just an aspect of the game, like any game that happens to feature stealth. It would be nice if the game, if they went back in the direction of encouraging stealth and pushing it, because I feel like this is Assassin's Creed. In the last game, you weren't even an assassin. It was pre the Assassins. Because Origins was the origin of it when they were called the Hidden Ones, and then Odyssey was before that. You're an ancestor of the progenitor of the Assassin Order, sort of. I guess this would be like a solid number 2 or number 3 on my rank list. It's up there. It's very near to the top, and depending on my mood, it could be on the top. Final thoughts?
honestly, really enjoyed this game. They really did. They set new, like you said, precedents with this game. They did a really good job. I have no complaints over it. Honestly, this is one of my favorite games of all time. It has infinite replay value. This is one of the few games that you actually want to sit through 100% and not feel bored by doing it.
Says the guy that didn't 100% it.
Fair enough. Fair enough. But, I was had a lot of other things on my plate. But to be honest with you, that this is one of those games that I don't mind doing that. I really don't.
Yeah, actually, that was something I wanted to mention. Because like we said before, the side quests are really fun, and they don't feel like a chore. They really managed to make it. I think I made that point that Assassin's Creed did a good job of that, but in particular, this game did. I think this is the game that I think about when I say that. Even having to stop every once in a while and collect a fragment or a chest on some uncharted island, it was a little bit of a chore, but I'm glad. But I still felt motivated to do it along the way, and then I didn't have so much till the end.
Those aren't even as annoying as the sea shanties. It's catching the damn shanties.
Yes,
because you have to go a specific direction to follow it, and sometimes this is where it gets a little glitchy. Is the walking and the traversing and jumping on things. It's hard to time it right and be faster or just as fast as it.
Yeah, some missions, the parkour was a little clunky, and I couldn't go what was obviously the recommended path for the mission smoothly.
Right. But any other
the sea shanties were a little annoying, but when she figured out the trick to them,
exactly,
by getting them from the opposite direction, sometimes you could get them much more quickly than you would anticipate. Yeah, you have to collect the shanties, blowing in the wind, like Benjamin Franklin's almanac pages from AC3. And once you collect them, then your sailors start to sing them. So it's actually kind of cool that as you progress through the game, your sailors will sing more sea shanties based on what you've collected.
Yeah, that's a really cool aspect.
And they're all real shanties. They're bangers. I remember singing Drunken Sailor, and my mom recognized it. She's like, yeah, I know what that song is. Everybody knows that song. Okay. I remember you said it in the mountains of Colorado, you and your friends were just singing sea shanties, right?
Yep. No, it was a lot of fun. I remember it very clearly.
I guess as far as my final thoughts go, I definitely think that this game is a great representation of the series overall. It has some of the most fun aspects of the series. It's just a blast to play. It's a refreshing change of pace I think, in a lot of ways, but has a timeless quality to it as well. I can go back and easily get into the controls. They're easy to I will say that. They're easy to ease yourself back into if you haven't played in a while. I had actually never, I had beat the game almost 100%, but I was missing like 2 legendary ships and one story, like one final, like the final story mission. So I remember, like, for years I was stuck there, and so when I picked up this game, I finally finished my original save file on the Wii U, and then I replayed through the entire game on the Switch. I remember just getting right back into it. It was actually pretty easy, so I will say that there's definitely a very timeless quality to it. But that's pretty much it. You can find Collateral Gaming on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and wherever you get your podcasts. That's basically a wrap up on season 2. I mean, again, just to reflect a little bit, what has been some of your favorite games from this season?
I can never forget God of War. Honestly, God of War is probably one of my favorites.
God of War is one of my favorites. Like, it's definitely in my top 5 games of all time now. It was that fantastic. I really enjoyed it.
Obviously, I enjoyed Death Stranding. There was a lot of hype for that one.
Death Stranding was
Whether
cool.
or not it may have lived up to it, we don't know. But
It did for us. We really enjoyed that. I mean, Kojima's a fucking weirdo, but it's a
he's
fun
a weirdo,
game.
but he did put a lot of effort into that game.
Yeah, not for everyone, but we enjoyed it. Red Dead 2 was finally good to get on that bandwagon and really enjoy it. So there were a lot of bangers this season, and we also picked up a few crew members along the way. We recruited them like in Assassin's Creed. We're super excited about Season 3. We're going to be starting up the season with The Legend of Zelda Majora's Mask. That's going to be our season premiere, followed by our Halloween special on Until Dawn. We're going to try to get those out by the end of October. I mean, we have to. It's Halloween, so we're kind of running on time here, but we're doing all right. We finally got to the season finale. We're supposed to do this back in August. Here it is, October, but we got it done. It's been an awesome season. I've had a lot of fun with it. I liked the bonus round segment that we introduced. That was cool. I liked being starting that again and having this more like laid back, unedited, topical format, and I'm excited to continue doing. One change that we are making next season, and I don't think I'm not sure if I'll be doing it with this episode. We did it with Spyro. We split it into 2. I'll see if I can split this into 2 sections. I may just release it as one, but starting next, because we're just at a little over an hour and we're feeling tired, but there's more we could say, but I feel like it's better to just play the game and find out. Yeah, starting next season, we're going to start doing 2-part episodes. We'll record 2 hours of content and then release those bi-weekly. Between that and the bonus round content, which we're going to do on the off weeks, and that's mainly me and Zach working on that now. We'll have some kind of weekly content, it seems. And on occasion, we may have also like our holiday specials. That's the plan. I think that it's going to be an awesome season. I'm really excited about it. We didn't get any of a break, but we kind of got a mid-season break anyway, and I don't really need any more time. I mean, I'm ready. I've been playing some Majora. It was fun to get back into that world again. We played a little Until Dawn. I played ahead on some of the other games that we're doing to be announced. Thanks for sticking with us. Thanks for having our backs. Thanks for listening. Please let us know how you feel. Leave us a review and hopefully a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts. Share it with your friends. Let them know what your favorite video game podcast is. Collateral Gaming. Listen to Collateral Cinema Movie Podcast. If you haven't, but I've been rocking on that one as well. We got our season finale out on Best Friends. We're opening up with our season premiere this month as well, right before Collateral Gaming with Fateful Findings. So Bo and Robert and I are going to be talking about Neil Breen finally. And that's going to be a blast. We're actually going to start recording 2 episodes in one session. That's a new thing we're doing.
Wow, that's pretty crazy.
Yeah, so we're kind of doing the same thing. We're recording once a month, releasing bi-weekly there. We're just going to back-to-back record 2 episodes. It's the way a lot of podcasts do it.
Makes sense.
If you need more Collateral Gaming content, I do have some more Patreon content out. Finally got out what we had on the Zelda Breath of the Wild, which is not all the game, but we'll return to it at some point and kind of finish up that. But at least we have, some of that out. I did release the Zelda CDI as well. Our Fable 3 Let's Play is free. The first episode of every other Let's Play is free. The rest of it is paid content. Getting caught up on some of the video stuff as well. There's a lot to do. Also, as we mentioned earlier, the Perfect Paradox podcast. It's hosted by a streamer of mine, Jax. A friend of mine, Jax, who's a streamer. I actually know him from high school, and he's actually pretty big. He's one of the top 50 Apex players in the world, and he's at the level cap 500, and it was really awesome playing with him and some other friends and talking with them. We had a really good podcast. Their version's out on their YouTube channel. Our version should be out soon as well. I'm gonna throw a little bit of the Collateral Gaming flair on there and go from there. But anyway, we've pretty much reached the end of our spiel. We hope y'all stay safe. Have a pleasant time listening to podcasts and playing games and watching movies. Stay tuned for our upcoming content, and we'll see you in season 3.
I will see you then.
Out.
Collateral Gaming is an L Company production. All music and game clips are owned by their respective creators and are used for educational purposes only. Please don't sue us. We're poor.
Now you're ready to sail for the Horn. Way, hey, roll and go. Our boots and our clothes, boys, are all in the horn. To me rollicking randy dandy, oh. Heave a pole, heave away. Way, hey, roll and go. The anchor's on board and the cable's all stored. To me rollicking randy dandy, oh. Soon we'll be warping her out through the locks. Way, hey, roll and go. Where the pretty young girls all come down in their frocks. To me rollicking randy dandy, oh. Heave a pole, heave away. Way, hey, roll and go. The anchor's on board and the cable's all stored. To me rollicking randy dandy, oh. Come breast the bars, bullies, heave her away. Way, hey, roll and go. Soon we'll be rolling her down through the bay. To be rollicking randy dandy, oh. Heave a pole, heave away. Way, hey, roll and go. The anchor's on board and the cable's all stored. To be rollicking randy dandy, oh.